has been discharged from prosecution under Section 59 of the Criminal and Other Offences Act 30, where she's expected to appear as a prosecution witness in the ongoing trial against Kwabena Edubuahin, who is the first accused, Angela Ajay Boatin, the second accused, and Advantage Solutions Limited, the fourth accused. We'll follow that and bring updates on that in our subsequent bulletin. But now to some educational stories. The government has placed 25,000 students in private senior high schools as part of the free senior high school program's next phase. However, government says it will not cover tuition for the 25,000 students who are now enrolled in private senior high schools through the computerized school placement system. Instead, government will pay an annual stipend of 940 cedis for each student. Minister of Education, Haruna Idrisu, announced this during the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding on leadership of the private schools in Accra.
The Constitution guarantees equal educational opportunities for all Ghanaians. Its meaning and its impact is that every Ghanaian is entitled to the full benefit of the rights and freedoms guaranteed under the Constitution, subject to the state ability to provide it. Now, if you see a significant number of Ghanaian students unable to join public schools, by necessity, they find comfort in private schools. They are still Ghanaians.
Minister of Education Haruna Idrisu, meanwhile, the president of the Conference of Heads and Proprietors of Private Senior High Schools, IK Mensa, welcomed the initiative but called for stronger collaboration between government and private institutions.
Private education, by the article that establishes it, states that we are partners in the delivery of quality education to Ghanaian child. So it actually beats our imagination where many a time private schools, especially the second cycle, is neglected. Until now, the only thing we had was during the COVID time when our schools were fumigated. We thank so much the President John Dramani Mahama, when he invited us to his office on the 20th May 2020, during the COVID time. It was that he assured us that he would make sure his manifesto committee would include private schools in the delivery of this quality education. Today is a novelty.
President of the Conference of Heads and Proprietors of Private Senior High Schools, IK Mensa there. Now, still on education, and the Ghana Education Service has received financial clearance from the Ministry of Finance for the payment of salaries of the remaining 6,249 teachers recruited in 2024. The approval, according to the GES in a statement, allows the service to complete all necessary processes to ensure the staff receive their salary. Although this financial clearance expires on 31st December 2025, management of GES say they will ensure that all staffs are placed on a mechanized payroll in time for the November 2025 payouts. Now, to some politics, the leader of the United Party, Alan John Kojo Tremantin, has questioned the NDC's government's commitment to fighting against illegal mining. He told Roland Walker that while the current government may have the political will, it lacks a comprehensive result-oriented strategy to effectively tackle the menace. He spoke at the launch of his new political party, the United Party, which is promising unity and transformation to break the NDC and NPP duopoly.
To be very objective, I would say that they are making an effort. They are trying. It is clear that there's the political will to get things done. But unfortunately, they have not been able to articulate a comprehensive and I would say strategy, results-oriented strategy and policy framework. You know, the things that they are doing are not entirely consistent. And for me, I feel that they should look at my 10-point plan and agenda to stop galamsey.
Leader of the United Party, Alan John Kujo Tremantin, meanwhile, the former Tamale Central Member of Parliament and Lands Minister, Enyonam Haligah, says if Tremantin's new launch United Party gains momentum and becomes a formidable force, it could spell the end of the New Patriotic Party.
He left the party in circumstances that depart from the values of their party. He was hard done by the MPP. So I support him. What he has failed to do was to divorce himself completely from the UP and position himself and his party as a third force. Because he's talked about a duopoly, breaking the duopoly. That's where he made a mistake. He should have gone for a different name. My view, I might be wrong. If Alan's party, UP, grows strong and formidable, that will signal the demise of the MPP.
Former Tamale Central Member of Parliament and Lands Minister Enyonam Haligah there. Now to some other stories, the Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, has charged leaders to invest in women entrepreneurs to drive Africa's economic growth. Speaking at the 27th Donta District 18 conference in Accra, the Vice President said as part of government's commitment to gender equality has expanded access to education and supported women in leadership.
We have expanded access to education, supported women in leadership, and strengthened protections against gender-based violence. But laws and policies must be complemented by partnerships with people and organizations, including yours, in order for real transformation to take place in our communities.
Vice President Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. Then now, before we go, the Accra High Court has granted bail to gold dealership firm Ralph Morgan Gold Limited and 5 others, each with a bail of 50 million with 2 sureties. The alleged gold smugglers pleaded not guilty to charges of smuggling 100 kilograms of gold worth 100 million Ghana cedis. As part of the bail conditions, one of the sureties has been justified in theatre report investigators every other day. In a court on Thursday, October 16, pleas of the third accused, Abdul Karim, and the 7th accused, Sadiq Abubakari, were taken when they were arraigned before the court, having earlier been on the run. Now, lead counsel for the duo, Paul Asibi Abingriga, intimated to the court that his clients willfully reported to the police when they found out that they were listed as wanted. 6 other persons have been charged together with 2 counts of conspiracy to smuggle gold and transportation of gold without the necessary documentation and authorization. That's the first half of this morning's bulletin. For more news, please check our websites at 3news.com. I am Enyonam Haligah. Business News is right up.
FM. The best in the morning is on 92.7. Sunrise on 3 FM.
It's now time for business news here on Sunrise 3FM 92.7. Coming up this morning in today's headlines, government's targets raises 6.5 billion cedis in treasury bill auction today. Also, latest data from the Statistical Service shows Ghana's economy grew by 4.5% in July, which was driven by agriculture.
Overall, while growth has softened compared to last year, the economy continues to show resilience and diversification, with key sectors maintaining forward momentum.
And much later in this bulletin, the extractive SME risk funding as Black flags major environmental, social, and governance compliance gap.
To build a dual capacity framework, one that strengthens ESG competencies within banks and enhances compliance readiness within the extractive sector themselves.
We'll bring you the details of these stories and other stories. Please stay with us. Now the details. Government is poised to raise 6.57 billion cedis in Treasury bill auction scheduled for today. This issuance is a critical part of the nation's short-term debt strategy aimed at refinancing maturing obligation and ensuring current funding processes. There's more in the following 3 Business report.
The amount will be sought across the entire short-term maturity spectrum, including the 91-day, 182-day and 364-day bills. The move comes as investor sentiment towards short-term government debt continues to strengthen. The last Treasury bill auction, held on October 10, 2025, saw significant market participation, being oversubscribed by 6.33 billion cedis. This impressive oversubscription signals a renewed and robust investor appetite for short-term government securities, largely attributed to improving market liquidity. Government is poised to raise 6.57 billion cedis in a Treasury bill auction today, and refinancing maturity obligations and easing current funding pressures. Government will be relying on the heightened confidence to meet its substantial borrowing target in today's auction. The successful mobilization of the targeted funds is crucial for the government to effectively manage its finances and maintain stability in a domestic money market.
That was a 3 Business News Desk report on government targeting raising 6.57 billion cedis in Treasury bill auction later today. Now, Ghana's economy grew by 4.5% year-on-year in July 2025. That's according to the inaugural release of the monthly indicator of economic growth by the Ghana Statistical Service. The new MEIG index, designed to provide a more frequent snapshot of the economic activity, rose from 105.4% in July 2024 to 110.2 in July 2025.
This indicates continued economic expansion despite persistent global and domestic challenges. However, the latest figure represents a notable slowdown from the 8.3% growth recorded in July 2024, signaling a moderation in the overall pace of economic activity. Government statistician Dr. Al-Hassan Idrisu noted that the agriculture sector was the key driver of the month's growth.
The agriculture sector grew by 8%. The industry sector grew by 0.1%. And services expanded by 6.4%. So overall, while growth has softened compared to last year, the economy continues to show resilience and diversification, with key sectors maintaining forward momentum even in the period of economic adjustment.
Monthly indicator of economic growth will be crucial for the nation's economic management, serving as an early indicator of shifts in economic activity.
A new high-frequency measure that tracks changes in economic activities every single month. It offers the earliest glimpse of how our economy is performing in the third quarter of the year, so that even before we come and release the quarter 3, at least we have an indication of how economic activities are moving in the third quarter of the year. It complements the official quarterly GDP figures that will, as usual, be released in December for quarter 3 of 2025.
This will enable policymakers, investors, and businesses to make more timely and informed decisions between the quarterly GDP releases.
Now, some other stories, the Ghana Association of Banks is raising concerns that many firms in the extractive industry, particularly small and medium-scale operators, are yet to meet environmental, social, and governance compliance standard, a key requirement for accessing sustainable financing. At a Sustainable Banking Principle Deep Dive series organized by the Bank of Ghana in Accra, the association pledged to partner regulators and development agencies to close the compliance gap.
With Ghana's extractive sector contributing about 7% of GDP and over 40% of total exports, the push for sustainability financing has become critical. But the Ghana Association of Banks says a large portion of operators, especially SMEs, remain ESG non-compliant, limiting their access to green and sustainability-linked capital.
GAB will intensify our collaboration with our regulator and development partners to build a dual capacity framework, one that strengthens ESG competencies within banks and enhances compliance readiness within the extractive sector themselves.
Second Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Matilda Asante-Asiedu, urged banks to look beyond profit margins and support credit that advances sustainability goals.
And so I want us to think beyond the bottom line, or think in spite of the bottom line, and see how we can achieve the bottom line but achieve it sustainably. At the Central Bank, I think this is something that we took note of since 2015. And we've issued guidelines, we've issued policies, we've issued regulation. But the reason we're going the extra mile to do these deep dive sessions is to go beyond the paperwork.
The engagement is part of a series of deep dives under the Ghana Sustainable Banking Principles, focusing this time on the extractive sector, one of the key drivers of Ghana's growth and environmental impact.
You heard a report on the extractive SMEs risking funding as banks flag major environmental, social, and governance compliance gap. Now, before we go, Ghana has been urged to adopt a bolder vision for its rice industry, move beyond import substitution to become a net exporter of the staple grain. Chairman of the Competitive Africa Rice Platform Ghana Chapter, Yao Edupoku, asserted that the country possesses the necessary resource and potential to achieve this ambitious goal.
Policymakers have been urged to implement comprehensive and deliberate policies designed to fundamentally transform the rice sector. Chairman of the Competitive Africa Rice Platform Ghana Chapter, Yao Edupoku, suggests Ghana aims at becoming a net exporter of rice.
We can become producer of rice for the whole West African sub-region. If you look at the regions, for example, the OT and the Volta region alone will have enough rice to feed Ghana. You add the northern sector to it, then we are feeding West Africa.
West Africa spends, on the average, some $5 billion in rice importation annually.
There is a huge market for rice in the sub-region. From the ECOWAS data alone, we know that in excess of $5 billion per annum to bring in rice. So just imagine $5 billion every year. For 10 years, that's about $50 billion. This is the money we exchange to bring rice to consumers in the sub-region.
Senior Research Fellow and Acting Executive Director at the Institute for Fiscal Studies, IFS, Dr. Said Boachi, said government interventions are key for rice sector development in Ghana.
So the government has to set up even firms over here producing chemical fertilizer. The private sector should be encouraged in terms of tax breaks and subsidies to either produce locally or import fertilizer, because the quantity of fertilizer being used is so low and it is affecting rice yield. Seed is a very big problem. In fact, only about 3% of rice farms in Ghana are planted with certified seeds, contrary to what goes on, for instance, in Vietnam, whereby 80% of rice farmers plant certified seeds.
It's now time to look at how the cedi is faring against major trading currencies and how some key commodities are also faring on the global market.
On the Interbank foreign exchange market, the dollar is selling at 10 cedis 70 pesos. It lost 55 pesos. The British pound is selling at 14 cedis 37 pesos. It also lost 7 pesos. The euro is selling at 12 cedis 49 pesos. It lost 6 pesos. However, be guided that these figures could be higher at a Forex bureau near you. On the global commodities market, Brent crude is trading at $61 per barrel. Gold is trading at $4,325 per ounce, up by $123.80. Cocoa is trading at $5,991 per ton, up by $182.
And that was an update from the Forex and commodities markets. That'll be all for business news on Sunrise 3FM 92.7. For more news, please check our website at 3news.com. I am Enyonam Haligah. Have a good day.